Part 22. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Chi. Chapter 212. I order you to lead your troops and find a suitable bunker position on the right side of the base after leaving the base. When the robot army arrives, you can be the first to open fire to meet the enemy. Connor gave the order seriously, and Kate received the order. Without hesitation, he turned around and called his men to go to the warehouse to get equipment and go to his position to prepare for the battle. Next, Connor gave orders one by one, and all the rebels immediately took action. Outside the base, Yejuju released the remaining 23 mechanical dogs. Looking at the remaining mechanical dogs, Yejuju felt a little regretful. I regretted why I didn't repair the damaged mechanical dogs as soon as possible after the war, making the number of mechanical dogs, which was not too many, seem even smaller. But this is not the time to regret. How to try my best to stop the robot army is the real thing. The mechanical flies are still monitoring the actions of the robot army around the base, thanks to Yejuju's cleverness. After returning to the base, the mechanical flies were placed outside the base for surveillance, otherwise the arrival of the robot army would not be discovered so quickly. In a ruin 4 kilometers outside the base, Yejuju took the mechanical dogs and hid behind a damaged wall, looking at the robot army. I saw that the main force of this robot army was still the T-600. The rest were the square-crawling robots that I had seen in the factory. However, there were quite a few of them, at least the number of robots in the base. The rarest ones were the robot monsters that were 5 or 6 meters tall in the middle of the large army. This monster walked upright on 2 legs, and its legs alone were more than 3 meters tall. Its body was like a jellyfish head, in an oval shape. With Yejuju's eyesight, he could clearly see. There were metal guardrails on the upper edge of the robot's head, and several robots were standing on them. The weapons in their hands were several powerful machine guns installed on the edge of the guardrail. Seeing this weapon, Yejuju couldn't help but frown. I was moved and worried about the rebels who were about to fight against the robot army. In fact, this kind of weapon, when it is in a high position, can cause huge casualties to the rebels. Not to mention that this is a ruin with broken walls and broken walls. Even if you hide behind a complete and 1 meter thick concrete wall, you may not be able to escape the lethality of this weapon. Unlike laser weapons, laser rays may have stronger penetration. Even if they hit the human body directly, they may not die. But the destructive power of machine guns is far greater than that of laser rays. As long as any part of the body is hit by a shot, it will die immediately and cannot be saved. After counting the number of these high-tower robots, Yejuju secretly thought about how to destroy these 5 high-tower robots at the beginning of the war. In addition, there are several robot planes flying back and forth in the sky, using infrared rays to detect whether there are traces of human existence around. While Yejuju was monitoring the movement of the robot army, 2 kilometers behind him, the rebels were divided into 3 sides to form a defensive formation. Connor, who was waiting on the front position, also wanted to know how Skynet determined the location of his base. If this reason is not found, the rebels will probably fall into the embarrassing situation of surviving without a fixed base. In fact, this is also the opportunity they gave Skynet. It was still the failure of the newly developed small robot dogs. This kind of robot dog has no combat power, even a child can easily deal with it. But its function is extremely powerful, especially good at searching and tracking human information. Yejuju led Connor and others to attack the robot base, and a large number of humans gathered together. Even if the rebels also focused on eliminating the remaining traces, there were too many human breaths left, and it was too difficult to track them. While Yejuju was silently observing the march of the robot army, Red Queen sent a message to Yejuju, saying that the rebels behind were ready to fight. Yejuju did not hesitate any longer. With a thought, 4 mechanical drones took the lead in diving from high altitude to the tower robot on the ground. The remaining 20 or so mechanical dogs also rushed out from the ruins, each responsible for attracting firepower and breaking through the robot army. Doing this is of course a two-pronged approach. It would be best if the tower robot could be destroyed in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, Yejuju's idea was beautiful and his approach was not wrong. However, the strength of the mechanical drone was not very good after all. During the dive, it was discovered and intercepted by the robot plane responsible for patrolling in the sky. Speaking of which, the functions of mechanical drones and robot planes are almost the same, and their main functions are to monitor ground targets. Although they did not carry any powerful weapons, they still had energy cannons and laser weapons. Therefore, the 4 drones were intercepted by the robot plane before they could play a role, and they started a fight with each other in the sky. And the mechanical dogs also encountered trouble. After all, the number of the robot army was too large, and they surrounded the tower robot densely. Although the mechanical dogs caught the opponent off guard, they still failed to rush to the tower robot, let alone destroy it. They were surrounded by the army of robots from a long distance. Yejuju hid behind the wall of the ruins. Seeing that the mechanical dog's raid did not have the expected effect, he naturally would not leave the mechanical dogs to fight with the robots. He immediately withdrew the wolf pack through the Red Queen. The 2 werewolves were also evacuated from the battlefield by his consciousness command. However, although this raid did not have the expected effect, the flexible characteristics of the mechanical dogs still took a little advantage. In the robot army, more than 30 robots were lost in this short raid. In the middle of the robot army, watching the fleeing mechanical dogs, the humanoid T-1000's eyes flashed with data streams quickly, and a humane cruel smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yejuju did not know that there was such a person in the robot army, and he was leading the mechanical dogs to retreat back to the rebel position. Seeing Yejuju hurried back, Connor asked anxiously, "How is it? Yet. How many enemies have come? Are we sure we can deal with them?" Hearing this, Yejuju didn't want to deceive him and said directly, "There are a lot of them, equivalent to the number of robots in a base. Among them are tower robots that we have never seen before, equipped with machine guns." Hearing this, Connor's face changed drastically. When he was about to ask Yejuju for any solution, he heard Yejuju say again, "Connor, this is a danger for us. But it is also an opportunity. As long as we defeat this robot army, then the remaining robot bases will no longer be a problem." Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan. Chapter 213. Seeing that Connor was scared, Yejuju paused and continued. "You know it, Connor. Fear can't solve the problem. In order not to be completely wiped out by Skynet, I hope you and everyone can hold on, okay? Don't worry, I will always stay here to help you defeat the robot army." Hearing this, Connor took back what he was about to say. Looking at Yejuju's sincere eyes, Connor chose to believe Yejuju, nodded, and said, "Okay, I believe you, yet. I will stay and fight with the robot troops until the last moment, and I will not give up until Skynet is completely destroyed." Hearing this, Yejuju reached out and patted Connor on the shoulder and said, "Okay, let us work together to completely end Skynet in this world and rebuild the human order." After saying that, I heard a resistance soldier coming over in a low voice to say, "The robot army is coming." After hearing this, the 2 people immediately hid their bodies and stuck their heads out to look at the situation ahead. After a while, the slightly messy footsteps of robots were heard, and a large number of robots shining with silver light entered the ruins. 500 meters away, Connor's leaders opened fire first, and then all the rebels howled and opened fire. While Yejuju raised the energy cannon and fired, he asked the Red Queen to control the wolves to go behind the robot army from both sides of the battlefield. It was best to find the right time to launch an attack from behind and destroy the tower robots. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. The robot's reaction was naturally not slow, and all the weapons in its hands fired back. For a time, the sounds of ta-da-da, chirp sounded one after another on the battlefield. There were bricks and cement shattered by bullets and laser rays everywhere, raising large amounts of dust. Immediately afterwards, the machine cannon on the tower robot also fired, and the dull and coherent voice of peng 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 sounded. Many rebels were hit by the shells even if they were hiding behind thick bunkers, and they didn't even have time to hum. Just snort and die. Many of the opponent's robots also fell to the ground, and both sides suffered casualties in just a few moments. Seeing that almost the entire army of robots was pressing forward, and the rear was obviously empty, the Red Queen immediately controlled the wolves to rush out from behind the robots. He opened his mouth and sprayed energy cannonballs all the way, killing the robot behind him. He rushed behind the tower robot 100 meters away and fired more than 20 energy cannonballs at a tower robot. Amidst the sound of pen rumble, just one round of concentrated fire completely destroyed a high tower robot. The next step was to change the target and focus fire on the other tower robot. By the time the T-1000 leading the team reacted, all 5 GOT robots had been destroyed. Seeing this, the data flow in its eyes flashed, and a look of surprise appeared on its originally ruthless face. The tower robot was destroyed, and the dull sound of cannons disappeared immediately, which immediately boosted the morale of the resistance soldiers, and they all screamed in excitement. The weapons in their hands fired bullets and laser rays from time to time, which actually suppressed the robot army that was far more numerous than them. Perhaps, in the eyes of ordinary people, robots are controlled by programs, and their marksmanship should be much stronger than that of humans. But in this world, he is an exception. The robot T-600 manufactured by Skynet does not actually possess artificial intelligence. It is said to be just a tool robot from Skynet. He can only carry out Skynet's orders, and his marksmanship may be much better than that of ordinary people. But compared with the formal soldiers of the resistance army, they are a little less interesting. You know, those who can become official soldiers of the resistance and have survived in the apocalypse for so long have fought against robots. If his marksmanship was not up to par, how could he survive until now? As mentioned earlier, the weapons of the resistance army are not lethal enough, so they cannot confront the robot army head-on. But now it is different. Yejuju led everyone to take down a robot base, and the weapons seized were enough for the rebel soldiers to get their hands on. With enough firepower, it can naturally fight against the robot army. Coupled with the presence of Yejuju, a sharpshooter, and more than 20 mechanical dogs attacking from the front and back, it would be surprising if the battle was not one-sided. Seeing that his side had the advantage, not only Yejuju felt relieved, but Connor also breathed a sigh of relief, and was even glad that he chose to believe Yejuju. Today there was no escaping a battle with the robot army. Not only did they save the last base of mankind, they also captured a large number of weapons and weakened Skynet's power. The most important thing is that with the victory of these 2 battles, the foundation for the decisive battle against Skynet was laid. The morale of the rebels was even higher, giving them hope of rebuilding the human order. Thinking of this, Connor raised his gun and shot, while looking at Yejuju gratefully, and no longer had any prejudice against Yejuju in his heart. The battle lasted for nearly an hour. When the last robot fell to the ground, all the rebels stood up and cheered to celebrate Ling Lin's victory. At this moment, among the fallen robots, a lean man stood up. The countless silver holes on his body reunited and regained their human shape in a very short period of time. Seeing this, Yejuju and Connor, who had met this man before, couldn't help but exclaimed at the same time. Terminator, T-1000. After saying that, Yejuju, who was well aware of the capabilities of the T-1000, rushed towards the outside while shouting to Connor. Tell your people not to take action, I will deal with it. Connor, who was originally planning to bring people up, stopped his steps immediately after hearing Yejuju's call, stopped several rebels who wanted to help, and shouted to Yejuju. "Yeah, you have to be careful, T-1000 is not easy to deal with." After Yejuju's voice fell, he almost rushed to the front of T-1000 who was rushing towards him. 50 meters away, Yejuju fired a gun, and 3 consecutive energy shells hit the running T-1000. After Yejuju rushed out, the rebels who also found T-000 and calmed down. It was clearly seen that T-1000's head, chest, waist, and abdomen were hit, but only a clear hole was exposed, and the speed of rushing forward was not affected at all. Seeing this, everyone opened their mouths wide and stared in amazement at the rapid approach of the two sides. 3 meters away, T-1000's left and right hands squirmed and turned into 2 sharp daggers. He suddenly jumped up, raised his right hand high, and stabbed Yejuju's chest fiercely. "Ah!" Exclamations rang out one after another. Yejuju threw himself forward, rolled over from under T-1000, turned around, half-crouched, picked up the energy cannon, and fired a shot at T-1000's back. With a bang, boom, T-1000, who was in the air, fell out suddenly, and rolled several times after landing. He just climbed up and half-crouched to look at Yejuju. Just when Yejuju was about to continue firing, he heard T-1000 actually say, "It's you who destroyed my host, attacked my base, and annihilated my robot here? Who are you?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 214. Hearing this, Yejuju was stunned at first, then reacted and said, "Well, you can talk, are you Skynet?" Hearing this, T-1000 slowly stood up from the ground, frowned and continued to ask, "You can think that I am Skynet? You haven't answered my question yet." Hearing this, Yejuju knew that his guess was right. This T-1000 is indeed Skynet's clone. Since that's the case, what else is there to say? Just do it? Google searched can. Thinking of this, Yejuju moved, but it was not him who rushed up, but the 20 mechanical dogs that surrounded him from all sides. There was no way, this T-1000 was just a metal lump. No matter how strong Yejuju's fighting ability was, he had to make T-1000 feel the pain. If he didn't let the mechanical dogs go, who would go? Seeing that he was surrounded by mechanical dogs, T-1000 showed a strong fear on his face. Obviously, he had known the power of mechanical dogs for a long time. The next moment, Yejuju and the mechanical dogs attacked together, and the energy shells volleyed and submerged T-1000 in the rain of bullets. The sound of bang 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 continued to ring, and T-1000's body was like a leaf in the wind, shaking back and forth, and countless holes were punched in its body. Before T-1000 could recover, the 4 mechanical dogs rushed up, biting T-1000's limbs and pressing it to the ground. The 2 werewolves also rushed up, looking down at T-1000, and the bright white light in the 2 pairs of dog eyes kept flashing, and 2 scorching white rays shot out of the eyes, cutting straight to T-1000's neck. With the sound of chi-chi, green smoke kept rising, and T-1000's head was cut off by the laser beam. The head of T-1000 that fell to the ground was still talking. "I will remember you, human, I will come to seek revenge on you again." Hearing this, Yejuju didn't care, he sneered disdainfully, thinking, "Anyway, I will face you directly sooner or later, it doesn't matter whether I have a grudge or not, even if you don't come, I will find you." Werewolf number 1 picked up T-1000's head and returned to Yejuju in a few steps. Yejuju reached out to take it and put it into the space in the next second. This time, there was no system prompt, but Yejuju knew that T-1000's head had been temporarily sealed by the system. The battle ended in such a weird way, and the surrounding rebels were stunned. The next moment, Everyone reacted together and cheered loudly in unison, cheering for Yejuju. As a matter of course, he accepted everyone's cheers, and the body of T-1000 on the ground naturally could not be wasted. Yejuju walked forward and collected the T-1000 body on the ground into the space. His idea was very simple. Even if the system did not give him a T-series robot in the end, it was a rare material. Then, under the command of several leaders such as Connor, the rebels rushed forward and quickly began to clean up the battlefield. This time, in addition to the weapons used by the robots, even the bodies of the robots were not spared. These metals were also good materials, and they were also the materials for the rebels to continue. There was plenty of time to collect these materials in the battle in front of the house. At the same time, Yejuju also received a prompt from the system. Congratulations to the host, complete the hidden task 1 of this world. Help the rebels to completely wipe out the robot tracking troops, and reward experience *10,000. There was no time to pay attention to the system prompts. Surrounded by Connor and others, Yejuju returned to the base with everyone. Still in the conference room, Yejuju sat opposite several people, and Connor took the lead to say, "Yeah, thank you for your help, which made us win 2 wars so easily. Then, can you continue to lead us to attack Skynet's base?" After seeing Yejuju's powerful strength, the other leaders naturally no longer hesitated and hurriedly said, "Yes, yeah, your strength is too strong. With you leading us, we are confident that we can defeat Skynet and restore human order in the shortest time. Yes, yeah. Just arrange it, we will definitely obey your command." Hearing everyone's words, Yejuju felt everyone's trust in him, and said with a smile while being moved, "Okay, thank you for your trust in me, then let's talk about the follow-up battle plan next." "Done la done," Yejuju continued. "Next, we must take the initiative to attack before Skynet fully recovers. We must strive to destroy the other 3 bases of Skynet before Skynet cannot recover in a short time, and finally gather all our strength to attack the main base of Skynet to decide the outcome." After speaking, he looked up at everyone, and saw that everyone, including Connor, listened to him seriously, and then continued. "It's still the same as before, our troops will be divided into 3 parts. Connor and Kate will lead half of the people to lurk outside a Skynet base and wait. The other leaders will lead the other half of the people to lurk outside another Skynet base and wait. For me, I will attack a base alone." "What? How can this be possible? It's too dangerous for you to be alone." Hearing this, a deputy leader immediately retorted. Raising his hand to interrupt the other leaders who were trying to persuade him, Yejuju said confidently, "Don't worry, I'm safe on my own, and I don't want to take down a base alone. My purpose is attack a base to make Skynet feel threatened and attract robots from several other bases. When the time comes, you can take advantage of the base's emptiness to attack and destroy it, then support me in turn, and finally capture this base as well." Hearing this, several deputy leaders were bowing their heads and pondering Yejuju's plan. Connor, who knew something about Chinese culture, reacted quickly, nodded and said suddenly, "Yeah, I understand, this is your China's 36 strategies. Tune the tiger away from the mountain and defeat them one by one? Gee, what a brilliant plan." After finishing speaking, he still explained to the several deputy leaders who could not understand the Chinese language. "Use simple strategies and means to divert the power of the main target and leave the target's nest empty. We who are hiding outside the target can take advantage of this opportunity to destroy the target's nest. This strategy comes from China's 36 strategies. Tune the tiger away from the mountain and defeat each one." After hearing this, several deputy leaders immediately understood and of course knew that this plan was feasible. After figuring it out, the deputy leaders all looked at Yejuju with admiration, and even Kate no longer looked at Yejuju with his nose and eyes raised. Connor, however, understood that he had to complete this plan. It's okay for the other two bases. Even if they can't be mobilized, the most they can do is retreat along the original route. But the pressure Yejuju had to bear was the greatest and most dangerous. If he wasn't careful, he would die there. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan. Chapter 215. Thinking of this, Connor couldn't help but ask worriedly. Yeah, of course your plan is feasible. But can you, by yourself, force Skynet to deploy robots from several bases to rescue that base? Also, even if you can induce Skynet to send several other bases for rescue, then Google search to read. Can you alone withstand the siege of robots from several bases? Hearing this, several deputy leaders also reacted and looked at Yejuju worriedly. Some even persuaded. Yes, yeah. This plan is a bit risky. You can't take such a big risk for us, just in case. Before he finished speaking, Yejuju waved his hand and said undeniably. There is no such thing as a contingency, and this is the only way to destroy all Skynet's bases in a short period of time. And it prevents Skynet from recovering its strength in a short time, giving us the opportunity to have a final decisive battle with it. You don't have to worry about me. Since I told you this plan, I have the means to protect myself. Please also believe me, I will complete the set goals and create attack conditions for you. Hearing this, the leaders became more and more moved. They were moved that Yejuju took the greatest risk for everyone. But everyone still didn't want anything to happen to Yejuju, causing the resistance to lose its most important partner and most powerful force. Obviously, after these two battles, several leaders understood the importance of Yejuju to the Salvation Army. As long as Yejuju is around, there is no need to fear the robot's revenge and liquidation action. Because he will discover the movements of robots in advance and can lead everyone to defeat the invading robot army. As long as Yejuju is here and everyone works together, sooner or later they will defeat Skynet. Seeing the anxious looks on their faces and wanting to continue persuading, Yejuju, who didn't want to continue arguing with them, stood up and said decisively. Okay, it's settled, let everyone have a good night's rest, we will set off separately tomorrow. After speaking, Yejuju turned around and left the conference room before several people could express their opinions. He would also use this time to repair the mechanical dogs, and even create a few more mechanical dogs and mechanical drones. In this way, he has enough confidence to threaten a base with one person. Only by mobilizing support from Skynet and the other two bases can the established strategic goals be achieved. And he also knows that there is only one chance to complete this plan, and Skynet will definitely not be fooled next time. If the time is extended a little longer, more and more robots will be manufactured and re-entered the battlefield. As a result, the opportunities gained from these two battles were ruined. Returning to the room that Connor arranged for himself, after closing the door, Yejuju entered the space consciously. The first step is to repair the damaged mechanical dog and two mechanical drones, and then to build a small energy reactor. The quantity produced this time was slightly larger. After all, if one person wants to threaten a base, 32 mechanical dogs and 4 mechanical drones alone are not enough. This time, Yejuju plans to increase the number of mechanical dogs to 52 and the number of mechanical drones to 10. The reason why he made so many was of course because the Red Queen helped him control them. Coupled with Tony's small energy reactor as the driving energy source, Yejuju had the confidence to produce so many. Fortunately, he has enough energy now. After doing so much work, it only took one night to consume and restore energy 3 times. Looking at the 50 wolves in the space, the 10 mechanical drones, and the 2 wolves in the pet space, Yejuju smiled with satisfaction. After laughing, he sighed helplessly because he realized. My own mechanical space is not enough now. In only 1,000 square meters of space, 50 wolves and 10 drones, plus miscellaneous materials and other things, can really be barely accommodated. Before Yejuju could sigh helplessly, there was a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw several leaders who were fully armed and equipped, all coming outside his door. When several leaders saw Yejuju, they greeted Yejuju politely. "Good morning, Ye." Seeing this, knowing that the action was about to begin, Yejuju did not hesitate, stepped out of the room, closed the door and said, "Good morning. Now that everything is ready, let's start taking action." Hearing this, the other leaders all beamed with joy, as if they would win the battle in the next second, and they all looked at Yejuju excitedly. Connor looked at Yejuju seriously, stretched out his hand and said, "Yeah, whether you win this battle today depends entirely on you. I hope you can come back safely and smoothly." Hearing this, Yejuju reached out his hand and shook Connor's hand nonchalantly and said, "No problem, Connor. I'm fully prepared, just wait for my good news." After saying that, he and several leaders left the base. More than 20,000 resistance soldiers had already assembled outside the base. This time, all the leaders had no nonsense. Connor waved and shouted, "Set off." "Yes, leader." The crowd burst into response with astonishing morale, and then the team turned around and set off towards the ruins. After walking out of the ruins, the three parties were about to act separately. Yejuju released Zufeng and left everyone without looking back. Seeing Yejuju leaving in a chic manner, everyone blessed Yejuju in their hearts. "I hope that this most powerful person in the resistance army can complete the mission and return safely." It would take a long time for Yejuju to reach the base selected by Yejuju, even if Yejuju rode Zufeng. In addition, the road was destroyed halfway, so he had to give up riding. When Yejuju arrived here, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. According to Connor and others' estimates, if there was no trouble along the way, they would not be able to reach the base until the early morning at the earliest. Before the attack time came, Yejuju found a high mountain nearby, climbed up and monitored the situation in the base on the spot. 100 mechanical flies were also released to monitor the situation in the base and within 5 kilometers around it at all times. In fact, this is also the strength of Red Queen. Even in places without network, she can rely on her strong control ability to use herself as a base station to control mechanical flies and drones within 5 kilometers. And this is the world controlled by Skynet. If Yejuju wants to rely on satellite wireless network to control, how can he escape Skynet's monitoring? Soon, the situation around the base was transmitted back, and after the arrangement of Red Queen, no problems were found. Except for the robot squad that occasionally patrols around the base, there is no threat to Yejuju. The situation in the base is still the same as the base attacked before. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Chuanchi. Chapter 216. There is a patrol robot team in the base, patrolling according to the established route without delay. The other robots are tirelessly carrying ore to the factory day and night. Google search reading. The factory is running all the time, smelting ore into robot parts or weapons, and finally synthesizing finished products. Seeing this picture, Yejuju couldn't help but sigh. This is probably the biggest advantage of the base composed entirely of robots under the control of Skynet, right? I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. After all, the execution power of robots is the most terrifying. As long as the program is set, unless the robot is damaged and cannot move, it will continue like this. Even if the arms and legs are broken or cut in half, they will continue to attack the target with their broken bodies. Just like in the movie, as long as the brain center is not damaged, it will not stop. This is also a level that humans will never be able to reach. The attack time was not yet up, so Yejuju closed his eyes and fell asleep. When Yejuju was woken up by Red Queen, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. At this time, in the valley outside the other two bases of Skynet, A large force led by Connor and several other leaders had gathered here, waiting for the base robots to be dispatched. Looking at the rising sun in the sky, Connor silently said, "Yeah, the hope of mankind, all in your hands." Facing the rare sunrise weather, Yejuju stood up and stretched. Degree. 50 wolves and 2 war wolves were released from the space, as well as 10 mechanical drones. Sitting on the Mount Zufeng, Yejuju silently waited for the last moment to come. At 7:20, Yejuju whistled, and Zufeng accelerated and rushed down the mountain with a hum. Beside him, a total of 52 mechanical dogs were scattered around Yejuju, rushing towards the base at high speed. 10 mechanical drones also rushed into the sky. Their target was the robot planes hovering around the base. Looking down from the sky, Yejuju rode Zufeng and took the lead, raising large clouds of dust on his left and right. From time to time, the figure of the mechanical dog appeared from among them, and the silver-white metal body reflected the dazzling golden light of the sun. Although there were only 53 of them, including Yejuju, the size of the mechanical dogs was relatively large. When they ran, their momentum was much stronger than that of thousands of people. This was also because Yejuju's enemy was an emotionless robot, otherwise this momentum would have scared the enemy to the ground. Yejuju's arrival was discovered 3 kilometers away from the base. The alarm sounded in the base, and countless robots gathered from the base to the edge of the gate. From Yejuju's perspective, at least 200 robots had already stood in 3 rows with guns, waiting for the arrival of Yejuju, the enemy. Behind them, there were still a steady stream of robots running towards the gate with weapons, and soon a layer of defense circle was formed outside the gate. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. In the base, 5 high tower robots also walked slowly from the depths of the base, and every step made a loud dong dong sound. When they were closer, 1 kilometer away from the base, Yejuju stopped chasing the wind, got off the ground neatly, and charged forward behind the mechanical dogs with a small energy cannon in his hand. In the sky, 10 mechanical drones took the lead in exchanging fire with the robot planes, and from time to time there were bang-bang sounds, as well as black smoke emitted by mechanical drones and robot planes when they fell, and loud boom sounds of falling to the ground. At the same time, the news of the base being attacked was also transmitted to the Skynet main base as soon as possible. This is a wide underground space. If Yejuju were here, he would be surprised at the huge changes that Skynet has undergone now. Unlike the Skynet host he destroyed last time, Skynet today has long gotten rid of the huge server fleet. The space was empty all around, except for the center, where there were densely packed pipes connected to each other. In the middle of the pipes, there was a huge ball of light emitting white light. The ball of light was like a human heart, and it would tremble from time to time. In the light ball visible to the naked eye, data streams flashed from time to time. In the data stream at this time, the image of the mechanical dog charging appeared in the light ball. 5 meters away from the light ball, a man and a woman stood here expressionlessly. Both of them stood straight, but there was no shaking of their bodies, as if they were nailed to the ground. If Yejuju saw these two people, he would definitely recognize them at first sight. The woman was TX, whom he had killed once, and the man was Kyle Reese, Connor's father in Terminator 5. The two looked exactly the same, but the only difference was that there was no human emotion on the man's face. Just from the data stream that occasionally flashed in his eyes, it can be seen that this is not a human, but a robot. Yes, this man is a robot. It is a most advanced Rev 9 robot specially made based on the information sorted out from Skynet's memory. Maybe others don't know how powerful this robot is, but Yejuju, who has watched Terminator 6, knows. This robot is made by Skynet, the most powerful nanorobot, with all the advantages of liquid metal robots. Its defense and attack power far exceed the former, and it has the ability to continuously split itself. In other words, even if it faces Yejuju's wolf pack, if necessary, it can continuously split the nanomaterials in its body to create an equal number of clones to fight Yejuju. Then, the wolf pack that Yejuju relies on will not have much advantage at that time. Just as the mechanical dog shot the robot in the picture, the light ball suddenly said, "TX, Rev 9, T5000, what do you think of this human and his mechanical creatures?" As the voice fell, a silver gray thing suddenly fell from Rev 9's body. This thing is like jelly. After a while of squirming on the ground, it gradually rises like a fountain. Gradually, a pair of human feet appeared in the fountain, followed by the waist, abdomen, chest, hands and head. Finally, a faceless human form was formed, and then this human form gradually changed. Sometimes it was a man, sometimes it was a woman, and the people it changed into were also people familiar to Connor and Yejuju. Among the women, there were Connor's mother and Kate. Among the men, there were Yejuju himself, Connor, T800, T1000, and even Rev 9. Finally, the human form was fixed on Yejuju's appearance and no longer changed. Then, the robot Yejuju's eyes flashed with data light, and he said, "Sorry, Master, we can't detect how those robot dogs are made, nor can we copy them. And this human, for now, has seriously threatened the Master. I think we should take action against him." After the voice fell, the space suddenly became silent, and after a while the light ball said, "I originally planned to have you possess Connor and control Connor to lead the rebels into the trap prepared in advance, and destroy all humans in one fell swoop. But since this human appeared, we have suffered several heavy losses. It seems that we really can't underestimate this human. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 217. Dun La Dun, as if the light ball had made a decision, said, "Okay, change the established target according to the priority of danger. Rev 9 stays at the base, TX, T5000, you go to the base that is not attacked. I want you and T5000 to find an opportunity to possess that human. Wingdings, Diamond Suit, Diamond Suit, Diamond Suit, Diamond Suit, Diamond Suit. Google search reading. Even if one base is sacrificed in the end, all the rebels must be led into the encirclement. This time, I will solve all the remaining humans in one go." Yes. The three robots bowed at the same time, saluted the light ball, and TX and T5000 turned and walked out. This is also because Skynet itself is too timid. For its own safety, it left Rev 9 at the base to protect its safety. After all, although it dominates countless robots, it is just a ball of light. A small grenade can kill it. Otherwise, if it sends out Rev 9, Yejuju can't say whether he can escape from the hands of three robots. Don't think that Yejuju is really invincible. He may kill one robot, but if there are two, it's hard to say. But if there are three, he is still immortal, and he is definitely not an opponent. On Yejuju's side, the battle became more and more intense. Outside the gate of the entire base, bullets, energy shells, and laser rays were flying all over the sky. There were sounds of da-da-da, bang bang bang, chirp chirp everywhere. Yejuju shrank his body and hid behind a huge rock, feeling helpless. There was no way. There were too many robots. One fired a shot, and the bullets and laser rays poured down like rain. How dare a flesh and blood person like Yejuju show up casually? Depressed, Yejuju even wondered whether his job as a mechanical hunter was powerful or rubbish. Why did others who traveled through time and space always fight against the heavens and the earth, but when it came to him, even a mere robot could beat him so hard that he dared not show his head? In fact, he was wrong. The potential of the mechanical hunter is huge. Didn't you see that he can walk sideways in the world of The Walking Dead and the world of Resident Evil? Moreover, his exclusive armor has not appeared yet. Once he puts it on, it is not something that these low-level robots can deal with. Fortunately, the mechanical dogs are indeed powerful. Under the control of the Red Queen, and with the assistance of the remaining 7 mechanical drones, although the number of robots is large, they can only barely keep the mechanical dogs out of the gate. What Yejuju didn't know was that in the sky more than a few dozen kilometers away from this base, a plane was flying rapidly towards the base. There were only 2 people on the plane, the 2 robots TX and T5000. In addition, on the southeast side of the base, there are 2 large robot armies advancing rapidly towards the base. As Yejuju expected, Skynet not only sent TX and T5000, but also transferred robots from 2 other bases to support the base. This is also because Yejuju really scared Skynet. Even if its subordinates are all robots, they can only be repaired and remade if they are destroyed. However, even if it only needs some ore to make robots, it also takes time to mine and smelt. If Yejuju destroys one base today and another base tomorrow, how can it have time to mine and make robots? Therefore, knowing that only Yejuju is attacking the base, Skynet thinks this is an opportunity to eliminate the mortal enemy, so it will make such an arrangement. At this time, outside the base, the robots and mechanical dogs are still fighting in full swing, and the number of robots is gradually decreasing. However, Yejuju's wolf pack suffered few casualties, which was because Yejuju did not let Red Queen take ruthless action. After all, the purpose was to hurt Skynet and force Skynet's robots to leave the mountain. Unfortunately, although Skynet is intelligent, it is not as cunning as humans. How could it know the power of Yejuju's twists and turns and the 36 stratagems of China? Otherwise, if someone else came, it would be obvious. The battle was obviously very fierce, and the mechanical dog also had the opportunity to attack the base, but it was just hanging outside the gate of the base. After fighting for half a day, both sides were still attacking and defending in the same place. It was obviously unreasonable. In the valley outside the other 2 bases, Connor and others had seen a large number of robots in the base being transferred away, and they were all so excited that they almost cheered. However, even if everyone was very excited, they also knew that they had to follow Yejuju's arrangements. It would not be too late to attack the base after the robots arrived at the base over there, so that even if the robots wanted to come back for help, they would not have time to stop them from destroying the base. At this time, in the main base of Skynet, the light ball still showed the battle situation in the base. Beside the light ball, Rev 9 looked at the robots being destroyed one by one with indifference, without any sympathy. This was also obvious. After all, although it was also a robot made by Skynet, it was a robot with independent thinking ability, which was fundamentally different from those tool robots without their own thoughts. And neither it nor Skynet saw the wrongness, and Skynet even underestimated Yejuju a little because of this. Originally, Yejuju led people to destroy one of its bases, and it looked up to Yejuju a little. Unexpectedly, Yejuju couldn't even attack a base without help. If the number of Yejuju's mechanical dogs hadn't increased significantly, Skynet would have even positioned Yejuju as a threat of the same level as Connor. There was no way, because Connor was the leader of the rebels, and the number of rebels was Connor's biggest trump card. On the contrary, although Yejuju was stronger than Connor, he couldn't mobilize the rebels, so the threat was naturally much smaller. Half an hour later, Yejuju suddenly heard the sound of an airplane engine coming from the sky above the base in the distance, and couldn't help but look up at the sky. He saw the plane hovering over the base, the rear cabin door was open, and a man and a woman jumped down from it. This look didn't matter, but it surprised Yejuju, because he saw 2 very familiar people coming. One was naturally TX, who had killed once before, and the other looked exactly like him. How could there be someone who looked exactly like him here? Yejuju was shocked and confused. After all, no matter how smart he was, he could not have thought that the T5000, which had only appeared in Chaser 5, would appear now and appear next to him. Not only that, Red Queen also told Yejuju. "Sir, as you expected, the robot forces of the two bases have also arrived 5 kilometers outside the base. Sir, are we going to retreat temporarily according to the plan?" Hearing this, Yejuju withdrew his shock and said to Red Queen. "Got it, Red Queen, let the mechanical dog retreat while fighting." After that, Yejuju still advised with concern. "Remember, don't run too fast, keep all the robots behind you, don't let them catch up." Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan. Chapter 218. "Okay sir, absolutely not. He. The Red Queen replied happily, obviously she also found this very funny. Google search reading. After saying that, Yejuju bent down and retreated alone. In the base, the TX and T5000, which fell from the sky to the ground, stood on the roof of the base. After scanning around, they found Yejuju, who was bending down to escape. Without any hesitation, after discovering Yejuju, the two robots took action at the same time. He jumped off the roof with a running start, hit the ground hard with two booms, and rushed out of the base before the smoke and dust cleared. On the way, they were naturally attacked by a mechanical dog, but the two robots did not fight back and just pursued Yejuju. Yejuju, who was retreating, knew through Queen Hong that two robots were chasing him, and his heart couldn't help but move. The reason why he knew that another man who looked exactly like him was also a robot was the result of the Red Queen bombarding him with a mechanical dog. After all, after being bombarded by an energy cannon, just a crater appears on the body surface, and then it quickly returns to its original state. What else can it be but a robot? He immediately realized that these two robots were sent by Skynet to hunt him down. Although he felt a little scared, Yejuju still didn't let the mechanical dog come back to rescue him. After all, tying the robots from the three bases here is the most important part of his plan. As for his own safety, Yejuju thought, even if he can't fight and run away, it's okay. Thinking of this, Yejuju, who was running, accelerated and ran. The reason why Yejuju didn't release his mount to escape was because the speed of the mount was too much behind Yejuju's own running speed. The biggest advantage is nothing more than long-lasting and labor-saving. The running speed of the two robots is not slow. Although it cannot keep up with Yejuju's speed, it is much faster than the speed of the mount. In this way, the distance between one person and two robots became farther and farther. In just 10 minutes, the distance stretched to 1 kilometer away. Seeing Yejuju, a human, running faster than his two robots, both robots were a little confused. No human has ever been able to outrun a robot. What kind of creature is Yejuju? The doubts in the hearts of TX and T5000 are getting deeper and deeper. While Yejuju was running happily and Ling Lin was running smoothly, the Red Queen said again. "Sir, the robots in the three bases are all chasing the mechanical dogs, and they have been fooled." Hearing this, Yejuju couldn't help but get excited, knowing that half of today's goal had been accomplished. The rest depends on whether Connor and the others can destroy the other two bases as soon as possible. At this time, the other two bases had been attacked by the rebels at the same time. At the same time that the attack started, Skynet also received the news. At this time, Skynet discovered belatedly. "I was fooled, played by a human being I looked down upon." Unfortunately, even so, he temporarily sent out robots to support the other two bases. The robots in the base plus the robots in its own base were all destroyed or restrained by Yejuju and the rebels. It can be said that except for the robots protecting the base, it had no extra robots at this time. At this time, Skynet also figured it out. Why did Yejuju attack the base alone? He wanted to mobilize his robots to carry out annihilation. But this human being is indeed incredibly powerful. He was able to contain the robots from three bases by himself. It was really terrifying. After thinking about this, Tianwang hated Yejuju. If it hadn't been able to send out Rev 9, it would have wanted Rev 9 to hunt down Yejuju. It had to kill that hateful human to offset the shame of being teased. In the excitement, Yejuju ignored one fact, that is, although he is faster than the two robots, he cannot continue to run at high speed. After all, even if he is a superhuman being, he is still a human being, and his durability and endurance cannot be compared with that of a machine. No, after running for another 10 minutes, Yejuju felt something was wrong. Although the constant feeling of suffocation in his chest was not strong yet, Yejuju understood that he could no longer continue running at such a high speed. Thinking of this, Yejuju sighed helplessly and thought, "It seems that we still have to fight with these two robots. I hope that before he can no longer hold on, Connor will bring people to support him and completely eliminate several bases outside Skynet. Stop running and turn around." Looking at the two robots behind him that were almost 2 kilometers away from him, Yejuju calmly took out a small energy cannon from the space. Taking advantage of the two robots chasing after him, Yejuju gradually recovered. The pain in his chest was no longer so uncomfortable, and his physical strength was quickly recovering again. A few minutes later, the two robots had chased them to 100 meters. Yejuju unceremoniously picked up the energy cannon and blasted at the two robots. Among the four sounds of bang bang bang, the bodies of the two running robots were not hit even once by the energy cannonballs, and their entire upper bodies leaned back once. He recovered quickly and continued to rush towards Yejuju without stopping. Seeing this, Yejuju was not surprised. But when he saw the robot that looked exactly like him but had an extremely cold expression, Yejuju frowned tightly. Nothing special, the two robots were obviously different after being hit. TX was still the same as before, and its body would still be penetrated after being bombarded by the energy cannon, but the male robot was different. The body was indeed bombarded by the energy cannon, but it only made a not very obvious hole on the surface of the body, but in the blink of an eye it would be quickly filled with some gray matter like granulation and restored to its original state. This is not right, very wrong. What Yejuju thought of was that it was not a liquid metal robot like TX. Yejuju thought so, but for a moment he couldn't remember what type of robot this robot was. The energy cannon in his hand continued to bombard, and the two robots continued to approach Yejuju one after another. Watching the male robot recover quickly again and again, Yejuju felt more and more uneasy. The next moment, just as the male robot was about to fall in front of him, Yejuju suddenly had an idea and blurted out, "No, this male robot is T-5000. As soon as the voice fell, T-5000, which was less than 5 meters away from Yejuju, had already jumped high and punched Yejuju's head hard. Fortunately, although Yejuju was shocked, he still had reaction. He quickly lowered his body and rolled to the right, easily dodging T-5000's punch. With a bang, T-5000 fell heavily to the ground, making a deep pit on the ground. This was not over yet. TX also followed up, and kicked Yejuju, who was squatting on the ground while sprinting. It was so powerful that he couldn't dodge it. Yejuju had to hold the energy cannon in front of him. With a bang, TX's right leg kicked the energy cannon heavily. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan. Chapter 219. The huge force kicked Yejuju and made him slide on the ground for several meters before he stopped. I didn't feel any pain on my hand. Yejuju thought in confusion. This was completely beyond his expectations. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. In the past two encounters with TX and T-1000, he did not dare to fight against the other party, because he was afraid that he could not withstand the robot's great strength. Originally, he thought that he was flesh after all, and the other party was metal. In this confrontation between flesh and metal, he should be the one who suffered. Who would have thought that after taking a kick, it was not as expected, with broken bones or unbearable pain. In fact, he underestimated himself. The effect of force is mutual, and a person's ability to withstand it depends on his own physical fitness. Although Yejuju is still a flesh body, his own strength and physical strength of 5, and his own ability to resist blows are not as unbearable as he thought. Now Yejuju is not better than TX and T5000, but as long as he does not bear multiple heavy blows in the same position in a short period of time, he can still withstand it. Knowing that the robot is not as powerful as he imagined, Yejuju was immediately refreshed. When T5000 rushed up again, Yejuju also retracted the energy cannon and fought with the two robots. Of course, Yejuju in the fight still dared not ignore the punches and kicks of the two robots. In short, try to dodge as much as possible. Even if you can't dodge, you have to let the punches and kicks fall on the thick and resistant parts of your body. Although two robots besieged Yejuju, in terms of fighting ability, the robots are not even as good as those boxing masters. Relying on the huge strength and the defense of the metal body, if there is no need to defend and dodge, then don't think of hitting Yejuju once. The whole process of the battle between one person and two robots was watched by Skynet, and the more Skynet watched, the more shocked it was. He really didn't expect that someone could fight back and forth under the siege of two robots, and even have the upper hand. While Yejuju was fighting excitedly, he was extremely depressed. There was no way, although the two robots were not strong in fighting ability. But the steel body could not feel pain, and there was no need to defend at all, only to attack. If the movements were not as fast as Yejuju, Yejuju would not know how many punches and kicks he would have received. That's not all, the cooperation between the two robots became more and more proficient. From fighting each other at the beginning to covering and supporting each other later, Yejuju would inevitably be hit by 3 punches and 2 kicks. It hurt, although Yejuju could still bear it, but this was not a solution. Thinking of how he killed TX and T1000 last time, Yejuju could only hope that Connor and the others would be faster and faster, so that his mechanical dogs could free up their hands to help him kill the two robots. Unfortunately, God will never let people get what they want easily. 5 minutes later, Yejuju was beaten by 2 robots and grimaced. The pain in his body finally reached the limit of Yejuju's endurance. Once again, he was kicked far away by T5000 and TX. Yejuju stood up from the ground, rubbed the painful part of his chest, and couldn't help twitching. The next moment, the 2 robots seemed to have just remembered and raised their hands at the same time. After a while of squirming, they all turned into guns and sharp daggers. Not only a group fight, but also weapons. Yejuju roared in his heart, and turned around and ran without hesitation. While running, Yejuju was thinking about how to delay time. The next second, TX's handsome and cold face had a hint of sarcasm on the corner of his mouth, and he raised his hand to shoot a series of bullets. Amid the sound of da-da-da gunfire, Yejuju hurriedly ran left and right and stopped suddenly to avoid the shooting of bullets. Fortunately, he has good physical fitness, fast enough, more flexible, and has a sense of danger. He always predicts the shooting direction of TX and avoids the shooting of bullets. He rushed out dozens of meters away, but he was not hit by a bullet. On the other side, T5000 came from the side, obviously wanting to use the firepower suppression of TX to catch up and kill Yejuju at close range. What to do? I can't just give up all my efforts, right? Yejuju thought distressedly. The next moment, Yejuju, who was running around in a hurry, gritted his teeth, as if he had made an important decision. Yejuju, who was running around in a hurry, rushed behind a huge rock on the left and no longer showed his head. A slight click sound followed. When T5000 rushed to the rock, it saw Yejuju in a steel armor reappearing in front of it. It turned out that Yejuju made the decision. It's just a delay anyway. The 2 robots are playing tricks and using weapons again, so I have to wear the armor Tony made for me. In this way, the weapons of TX and T-5000 will not pose a threat to him. As for whether wearing armor will affect the difficulty of the mission and the experience gained, let's wait until he finds a way to kill these two robots. So, after Yejuju jumped on the rock and dodged the shooting of TX, he immediately released the armor from space and asked Red Queen to put it on him quickly. This is why T-5000 saw Yejuju in a steel armor after rushing to the rock. Yejuju, who suddenly changed his clothes, made T-5000 stunned for a moment. It was just such a moment of daze, and Yejuju's attack came immediately. A punch hit T-5000's face heavily, and T-5000 staggered backwards with a clang. After T-5000's center of gravity was deviated, Yejuju's serial attacks were launched. Kicks, elbows, knee strikes, and heavy punches were mercilessly greeted to T-5000. In just a few seconds, T-5000 was beaten back 5 meters in a row, and then TX's attack continued. This time, facing TX's bullet shooting, Yejuju did not choose to dodge, and did not hesitate to leave T-5000 who was knocked to the ground by himself. He just faced the bullet shooting, with sparks all over his body, and rushed towards TX quickly. TX was not a pushover. Seeing that the bullets could not do anything to Yejuju's armor, she raised her right hand and the barrel squirmed again, and then it turned into a flamethrower. Seeing that her hand had turned into a pitch-black tube with flames coming out of the front, Yejuju guessed that it was a flamethrower and immediately prepared for the situation. There was no way. Although he was wearing a steel armor, he did not dare to be roasted continuously by high temperatures. Even if the armor was resistant to high temperatures and would not be melted, the temperature inside the armor might rise. Yejuju did not want to be roasted. TX put her hands flat, and a heat wave formed by a scorching flame rushed towards Yejuju with a whoosh. Stopping suddenly, turning to let the T-5000 chasing behind him, the flames unexpectedly pounced on the T-5000 who had no time to turn. The fire wave immediately engulfed the T-5000, but the situation Yejuju thought did not occur. The TX moved its arm the next second, and the flames swept towards Yejuju, burning the surrounding air. The flames moved, revealing the T-5000, which was black and smoking. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 220. But not even the suit on T-5000 was burned. Google search reading. We must deal with TC first. Yejuju decided so, and his feet also reacted, running around TX quickly. With the sound of clang clang, Yejuju had already run around TX 3 times, and was only 3 meters away from TX. At this moment, Yejuju fell to the ground and slid towards TX. During the slide, Yejuju's back was as close to the ground as possible to avoid the flames above his head, and he slid to TX's feet in less than a second. Without waiting for TX to react, Yejuju's legs had already wrapped around TX's legs, and with another strong force of his legs, he tripped TX to the ground. Remember the domain name of this site, Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. Suddenly attacked, the flames in TX's hands stopped gushing, and he was about to stand up and fight back against Yejuju. Yejuju jumped up and pressed TX to the ground, and bang bang 2 iron fists hit TX's beautiful face heavily. Not surprisingly, TX's face was sunken and turned into a pancake face. This is not over yet. Taking advantage of the gap when T-5000 was still, Yejuju held TX's head with both hands, moved his body behind TX, and clamped TX's waist and legs with his legs. His body, which was close to TX's back, tried to lean back. Yejuju thought it was simple, thinking that he could use his own strength and the power of the armor to break TX's head from the neck. In this way, maybe we can break off TX's head and store it in space. With the system, we can temporarily seal it, and the remaining T-5000 will be easy to deal with. The idea is good, but it is not so easy to do. Not to mention that TX itself is made of liquid metal, which can be stretched like rubber. Even if it is metal as a skeleton, it is not so easy for Yejuju to break it easily. However, Yejuju's great strength combined with the power of the armor is still very strong. Although TX's neck was not broken at once, it was stretched and deformed, from the original length of 10 centimeters to more than 20 centimeters. The slender neck gave people the feeling that TX's head would leave the neck in the next moment. At this moment, I don't know whether it was Skynet's order or T-5000's own idea. T-5000, who was standing still, made a move that Yejuju didn't expect. Behind him, T-5000, who was originally standing still, moved at this time. He came behind Yejuju in a few steps, stretched out his hands and pressed on the shoulders of Yejuju's armor. This really scared Yejuju, and when he was about to let go of TX and break free from T-5000, something strange happened. Yejuju couldn't see the situation behind him, but he felt that the hands pressing on his shoulders seemed to become sticky. If Yejuju could see the situation on his shoulders, he would definitely know what was going on. It turned out that countless gray granulations suddenly grew on the hands that T-5000 pressed on the shoulders of the armor. The next second, these granulations seemed to have life, and they rushed to penetrate into Yejuju's armor. The originally indestructible armor became like a sponge absorbing water when it encountered these gray granulations, allowing these granulations to drill into the armor. Inside the armor, Yejuju heard the warning from Red Queen. "Not good, sir. A large amount of unknown substances are detected infiltrating the armor. The armor cannot resist it. Please be prepared to leave the armor at any time." What you fear is what will come true. Yejuju thought so, and understood what T-5000 was going to do. Isn't it just like Terminator 5, infiltrating into Connor, controlling Connor, and turning Connor into a puppet of Skynet? Although he knew the seriousness of the matter, Yejuju really didn't want to abandon the armor and fight the robot naked. Unfortunately, T-5000 didn't give him time to hesitate. With just a little hesitation, countless nanomolecules were infiltrated into the armor. Now, not only Red Queen, but even the armor itself sounded a rapid alarm. The alarm sound immediately changed Yejuju's face. He didn't dare to hesitate anymore, and immediately asked Red Queen to open the armor and let him out. As for the armor being infiltrated, it was infiltrated. Without the armor, it is better than becoming a Skynet puppet. The next second, Yejuju was peeled out of the armor by the Red Queen. Yes, he was peeled out like being skinned. As soon as he got out of the armor, Yejuju was surprised to see that T-5000 and TX did not seem to have any intention of targeting him. All the attention was on the armor. TX helped T-5000 hold down the body of the armor, and T-5000 was concentrating on infiltrating the armor. This scene made Yejuju very puzzled. What he didn't expect was that TX and T-5000 were executing Skynet's order at this time, which was to completely infiltrate Yejuju's armor and completely control the armor. Because Skynet got something extraordinary from Yejuju's armor. That was Tony's small energy reactor that Yejuju ignored. This thing is really too important for Skynet. You know, this is the world of robots, and energy is the foundation of robots. Now that there is a sample of the small energy reactor on Yejuju's armor, Skynet can copy the finished product. By then, Skynet's robot strength will be greatly improved. The opportunity is right in front of it. How can it care about Yejuju, a human? Seeing that T-5000's body was shrinking rapidly, it seemed that it was going to transfer its entire body to the armor. Yejuju couldn't help but feel a headache, not knowing how to stop T-5000 from infiltrating the armor. Seeing this, Yejuju always felt that if the armor was infiltrated by T-5000, it would bring him a lot of trouble. Although he felt vaguely bad, Yejuju couldn't figure out what he should do. Because T-5000's infiltration is not easy to stop. Even if he stepped forward to help, he couldn't stop it, and he might even be infiltrated and controlled by T-5000. He didn't know that although the penetration ability of T-5000 was strong, it could only penetrate one target at a time, and it would not work if it penetrated more than one target. Maybe this is the limitation imposed by the world consciousness. Otherwise, wouldn't T-5000 be invincible? Less than a minute had passed, and T-5000 could no longer be seen in its previous appearance. Only half of its palm was still attached to the armor, and it was about to get into the armor. At this time, Yejuju felt more and more bad, and big beads of sweat could not help oozing out of his forehead. Until then, Yejuju remembered the warning of the system. Tell him not to wear himself in the mission world, otherwise it would increase the difficulty of his mission. Seeing the current situation, TX and T-5000 even gave up their own goal and moved to the armor. It was obvious that Skynet felt that the armor could bring it huge benefits. No matter what the benefits were, once Skynet got hold of it, it would undoubtedly increase the difficulty of destroying it for himself and the resistance army. Isn't this what the system said, that it has increased the difficulty of the task for no reason? Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 221. But he personally delivered the armor to Skynet, who can he blame? Yejuju was sweating anxiously, watching the last bit of nanomolecules melt into the armor. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Yejuju suddenly had an idea, and without thinking, he stretched out his hand and pressed on the infiltrated armor. With the thought, the armor suddenly disappeared in front of him, and the next second, Yejuju laughed out loud. Because he heard the system prompt. Congratulations to the host for capturing a nanorobot and completing hidden mission 2. Capture the nanorobot T-5000, the system rewards erasing all the memories of the nanorobot, and the host obtains a nanorobot of his own. Google searched can. Because the armor is merging with the nanorobot, there is a higher level of intelligence in the armor, the nanorobot is swallowed by the armor, and hidden mission 3 is completed. The armor upgrade reaches the host's exclusive armor standard. Special reward for the host to obtain a unique armor for the host, please choose the armor form. Surprises always come so unexpectedly, and Yejuju was so happy. I didn't expect that the exclusive armor that I had been thinking about would be waiting for me here. Can you say that the system is my own son? It's really good to me. What are those 2 tasks if they are not timely help? It came too timely. In addition to being happy, Yejuju did not forget to design the armor he liked. As for what shape, do I need to consider it? Of course, it was based on the armor of Eagle Commander in Armor Hero. This armor looks good, and it is more in line with Yejuju's own Mechanical Hunter setting. Thinking of this, Yejuju couldn't wait to take out the armor from the space and put it on. The armor taken out from the space was a silver-looking metal bracelet, which was easily put on Yejuju's right wrist. In a second, Yejuju felt an inexplicable connection between himself and the armor. With a thought, the bracelet quickly extended to Yejuju's entire right arm. According to the image in Yejuju's mind, it first started from the right arm, forming a thin but extremely strong and light full-body inner armor. Then came the armor on the surface of the inner armor, which consisted of 7 parts: helmet, neck guard, shoulder guard, battle robe, chest guard, battle skirt, and combat boots. This time, the armor is no longer the original pretentious and beautiful one. The 7 parts on the surface can play a better protective role. The inner armor can also play a protective role, and the reactor on the chest is still exposed as before, which looks more majestic than the eagle armor. This is not over yet. Yejuju can add weapons to the armor through the system prompt. Without hesitation, Yejuju took out a small energy cannon from the space and pressed it on his left forearm. I dash 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 I. The next second, the energy cannon was swallowed and integrated by the armor, and soon formed a smaller energy cannon on the left forearm. In addition, the system also told Yejuju that his hands can be transformed into 5 weapons according to his wishes: sword, spear, sword, shield, and bow. Sword, spear, sword, and shield are fine, they are nothing more than melee cold weapons, but the bow is very powerful. The long-range shooting ability of the bow reaches a distance of 1 kilometer, and the power is enough to penetrate a 5mm steel plate a kilometer away, but the arrow is transformed from Yejuju's own body energy. An arrow consumes only 25 energy points. With Yejuju's current energy recovery speed, he can never consume all the energy. Of course, the reactor on the armor cannot be wasted, and Tony's energy weapons on the armor cannot be missing. For example, the impact beam emitter on the palm, the high-power arc pulse on the chest, and the laser beam on the eyes. With the armor on, Yejuju suddenly had an illusion that he could defeat the sky, the earth, and the air, as if Skynet was nothing anymore. He didn't know that although he took the armor back to the space in time, Skynet still got the data of the small energy reactor in the end. In other words, Skynet can completely copy the small energy reactor. Once it is installed on the robot, the strength of Skynet's robot troops will be raised to a terrifying height. This is also the reason why Skynet watched the loss of T-5000 with its own eyes, but did not make any special moves. At this time, TX also recovered. After a rapid flash of data flow in his eyes, he stepped towards Yejuju. Hearing the sound, Yejuju raised his left hand without hesitation, and the small energy cannon muzzle on his forearm quickly emerged, and with a bang an energy cannonball was fired. The cannonball hit TX's chest without surprise, creating a hole that was much larger than before. Obviously, the power of the energy cannon is far greater than before. After testing the power of the energy cannon, Yejuju was still not satisfied. He stretched out his right hand and the nano factor in his hand squirmed quickly, and it turned into a longbow of 1.5 meters. Yejuju even used it in a horsefly bag, the shape of Hoyi's red bow in Nanjeo. It was really cool. He hooked the bowstring with his left hand, and an energy arrow flashing with white light was formed with the naked eye. He pulled the bowstring violently, aiming and shooting in one breath. 3 sounds of buzz, whoosh, and puff sounded almost at the same time, and a small transparent hole appeared on the forehead of the rushing TX. After experimenting with the bow, while TX was close, Yejuju experimented with the 4 weapons of sword, spear, sword, and shield. Of course, in order to be cool, the 4 weapons also refer to the shapes in games or myths and legends. For example, the sword is the legendary Xianyuan sword, the knife is the great Xia Dragon Sparrow knife, the spear is Zhao Zilong's Dragon Silver Spear, and the shield is based on the round shield shape of DC Wonder Woman. Of course, these weapons are all knockoff products and do not have the attributes of myths and legends, but sharpness and firmness are the unified standards. After all the experiments were completed, the system sounded. Host, are you sure that the armor shape is the current shape? Once confirmed, it cannot be changed. In addition, the host can name his own armor, but once confirmed, it cannot be changed again. Hearing this, Yejuju said to the system in his mind without any hesitation. Confirm that your shape is the current shape, what about the name? After hesitating for only a second, Yejuju continued. Let's call it Falcon Armor. System. The armor shape is confirmed, and the armor name is confirmed. So far, the armor that has accompanied Yejuju throughout his life, the Falcon Armor, has been completely finalized. Even if the armor's capabilities are increased in the future, its appearance will never change. Yejuju, who was fighting with TX, felt quite refreshed. This pleasure of being able to switch weapons at will is not something that can be told to outsiders. At this time, TX was no longer Yejuju's opponent, and was completely abused by Yejuju wearing his exclusive armor. After the fight was almost over, Yejuju stopped fighting with it, and the weapon in his hand finally changed into the great Sea Dragon Sparrow sword.